Be putting that to our friends who join us from across the aisle. Let me ask you, though, because a lot of your moderate colleagues say it is time to open up the government, that the point has been made about health care and that there's time to negotiate it once the government is reopened. I want to play for you something that Senator Fetterman had to say earlier this week on this show. Take a look.
Under this shutdown, millions and millions of Americans were being punished, and they weren't getting, paid, they weren't getting fed, and we weren't getting those kinds of tax credits that we all want. It was a loser, and it was the wrong thing.
Does he have a point, Congresswoman?
Well, I think you know that I'm friends with John Fetterman. He and I actually ran against each other in 2018 for lieutenant governor. It was quite a sight, all 5'4" of me and all giant of him. But we became good friends during that campaign. I've tried to stay in touch with him. I have to admit he's not returning my calls as readily as he used to. And I disagree with him on his vote over and over and over again. For the simple reason is that we made a very strong argument. These were extraordinary circumstances, but the American people got it, that by shutting the government down, we were able to focus on and get everybody else focused on the unaffordability of health care across this country.
Boy. So we got to continue our coverage of the government shutdown because I guess as of the making of this video, as I'm making this video, the House is currently passing a bill to end the government shutdown. And likely tonight is going to be signed by President Trump and the government is going to be opened up. Okay, now we got to talk about John Fetterman once again, because John Fetterman is one of the few Democrats in the Senate from the beginning of all this calling BS on the Democrats, right? He did not agree with the Democrats shutting down the government, taking food stamps away from people, taking away people's paychecks, including the pay of the military, stressing out air traffic controllers, okay, taking away people's welfare, ruining portions of the economy. Okay, we've lost economic activity, GDP growth, because of the Democrats deciding to shut down the government. He didn't agree with this from the beginning. However, he has gotten a whole lot of backlash, not just from his Democratic colleagues, but also from far-left extremists. And I want to play this segment on CNN where he talks about the backlash that he's gotten, because this CNN anchor, Dana Bash, is going to be stunned by all of the hateful things, the hateful messages that he received from Democrats, far leftists, okay, in response to him standing up for his constituents against the extremism of the Democrat Party. Take a look.
Talk about your memoir. It's incredibly, as I said, it's incredibly raw. You talk in great detail about your struggle with the disease that is depression. And I'm going to talk about that in 1 second. But I do want to ask about the way that you approach the Senate. And you write about that in your book. You said, quote, "I've drunk deeply of the venom of both the left and the right. As a connoisseur, I can confirm that the most poisonous, the bitterest, is from the far left." That is pretty remarkable to hear you say that as an elected Democrat. Why?
No, it's just been my personal experience on this thing. And when I asked my digital team, I said, we're on all the platforms, really what's kind of the harshest, what's kind of the most personal? And the answer was immediate. He said, oh, blue sky, it's blue sky. And the difference is, the right would say really rough things and names, some names I won't repeat on TV, but the on the left, it was like they want me to die, or that we're cheering for your next stroke, or that's terrible that depression won. Why couldn't it depression won? And I hope your kids find you. They even have like the graphic, a GIF where they have like a stroke, in your head, cheering at that. Yeah, and they said that. I remember one. They claimed, oh, the doctor let us down, and why did they have to save his life? Just really like. I just can't imagine. People are wishing, I wish he dies, or I want him to die, literally cheering for a stroke. And I don't know what the kind of a place where that comes from. That's much different than just calling me a name. That's really been consistent, in that community online.
Yeah. So apparently CNN propagandist Dana Bash is stunned by the fact that the same people that openly celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk being assassinated, that they are making fun of John Fetterman and using John Fetterman's stroke in order to make him feel guilty about not going along with the Democrats and their shutdown nonsense. Are you really surprised that this is how leftists operate, right? This is what they do. They say the most hateful things because they are a hateful group of people. If you don't agree with the far left, 99%, then in their eyes, you are the enemy. And they will say stuff, the same type of stuff that they said to John Fetterman, the most vile, heinous, despicable stuff, okay, that you can think of. This is what they will say. And they will also do these things as well, too, in order to get their way. Understand that the real fascists in this country are the Democrats and the far leftists, right? They are the real fascists. So with that being said, you did have some Democrats who folded to the Republicans, who decided to open back up the government in the House, okay, because you have about 6 Democrats that have voted to open back up the government. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
Fox News alert. Let's go back to Aisha Hasni. Do they have it?
Here it is. Congratulations, Jesse Waters. Live on your show, we are reopening the federal government. The votes have surpassed the magic number of 217. That was the number if everybody was in attendance. We knew we had an attendance problem, but now we are now at 222 because you look at the Democratic lane right there, that line, 6 Democrats have already switched across party lines and voted with Republicans. That is, we expected a couple of them to do that, the moderates, the centrists, the people who were against a government shutdown, that didn't feel good about it, that wanted to reopen the government, even if they wanted to fight for those Obamacare subsidies. Those are the ones that have switched over and voted along the Republicans. And there you go. That is it. They have not gavelled this yet. So technically, officially, we have not passed this bill yet. But the Speaker, Mike Johnson, does have the votes right now to officially end this government shutdown. And what will happen next is after they gavel and they make this official, this will then go to the White House tonight because the president wants to be done with this as quickly as possible. He wants to sign it into law immediately, get the federal government back open, and get paychecks to those federal workers, get the flights back in order. This has been nothing but chaos for the past 40-plus days, and the Republicans want this to come to an end as quickly as possible. But here we are. After all of this time, the back and forth, the Democrats really did not get anything out of this except for perhaps another fight later in January.
Oh, you mean, wait, Aishna, you mean we're going to do this again?
This is all I do here, Jesse, is talk about funding the government over and over again.
Poor
So
thing.
this bill only funds the government through January 30th. So it only gets us through the end of January. And I got to say, if they don't figure out this Obamacare stuff, if they don't figure out how to appease these Democrats, they might try this again. Who knows?
Right.
I mean, it worked for they got a lot of, they got their base riled up. They feel like they got something out of it. They may try it again if they don't get what they want. So we will be talking again in a couple
All right,
of weeks.
well, I hope that doesn't come to it. As much as I like having you on, Aishna, I hope we don't have to do this all over in January. Good luck and stay.
Yeah, so Democrats didn't get what they explicitly want out of it, right? Like they didn't get the Republicans to agree to the $1.5 trillion for illegal immigrants, right? They also didn't get Republicans to agree to extend Obamacare subsidies along with the government opening back up. But I do think that something is going to happen on the Obamacare subsidies because Republicans are indicating that, yeah, there's a bipartisan push in order to do something about this because ultimately at the end of the day, again, Republicans understand that the midterms are coming up and Democrats are going to use these Obamacare subsidies against them. Now, I just want to be clear. I'm against extending the Obamacare subsidies. I don't think that they should extend them, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I recognize the reality of politics and how these things typically go, how they actually go. And I wouldn't be surprised if we got an extension on these Obamacare subsidies.
Democratic Representative Sam Ricardo and Republican Representative Kevin Kiley, both from California. They just voted. They both represent California, and they are introducing a bipartisan bill to extend these Obamacare premium tax credits for 2 years that has been for the Democrats at least, part of this debate. Congressman Kiley, is there a sense of urgency among Republicans, or at least enough Republicans to pass legislation to do something about keeping health care costs affordable for constituents?
I think there is. There's a lot of folks on our side of the aisle who are extremely concerned about the prospect of this massive increase in premiums for a lot of our constituents. And so you've had a number who have come out publicly and said that they want to see some form of temporary relief. And I think that the proposal that Congressman Ricardo and I are offering is a great compromise because it provides this temporary time-limited extension, but it does so in a way that actually has reforms such that we don't increase the deficit in the process.
So you seen that, you heard that. Now we're going to see exactly what they come up with. Again, they claim that it's deficit neutral. Okay, but honestly, Republicans need to come up with their own health care plan. They need to come up with some type of replacement for Obamacare.
On Obamacare, you raised several times during this shutdown debate that it's clear that this was never going to work without these massive subsidies. Now they wanted to continue the COVID subsidies. So given the fact that Obamacare really can't survive as they thought without these subsidies, what next?
Well, I watched Obama from when this thing came about. As you know, I opposed it very strongly. Unfortunately, we had a couple of negative votes, which should never have happened. But I said it's going to be a disaster, and I was exactly right. The premiums have gone up like rocket ships, and I'm not just talking about recently. I'm talking about for years they've been going up. And he said premiums will go down, everything will be wonderful. It's horrible health insurance at a very high price. And what I want, and probably what you're alluding to, is the fact that I want, instead of going to the insurance companies, I want the money to go into an account for people where the people buy their own health insurance. It's so good. The insurance will be better. It'll cost less. Everybody's going to be happy. They're going to feel like entrepreneurs. They're actually able to go out and negotiate their own health insurance. And they can use it only for that reason. That's the beauty, only for that purpose. And if we did that, that would be so exciting. Call it Trump care, call it whatever you want to call it, but anything but Obamacare. Obamacare is a disaster, just like he was as a president.
Now, I'm pleased to say that this morning the president posted on True Social calling on Congress to redirect subsidies from insurance companies directly to Americans so that they can purchase their own health care. Now, there's a lot of words there, but just start at the top. Donald J. Trump recommending two Senate Republicans, that hundreds of billions of dollars being sent to insurance companies go directly to the people.
President Trump is now talking about leaving the government out of the health care issue and sending the money straight to the American people. Would you support that? Is that a fix for this ongoing problem?
Well, Republicans used to call that redistribution of wealth. Someone ought to ask them, is this redistribution of wealth when you take money from the American people? By the way, those are tax dollars. Those are tax dollars. This whole fiasco has been one episode of pretense on the president's part that the money is coming from China and other countries, while in fact it has been coming from many of the business people in this country and some of the consumers in this country. So those are tax dollars. And what he's saying to people is, I'll take your tax dollars and give you some of your tax dollars back. I find that very offensive. You shouldn't take them in the first place under the guise of saying that they're coming from another country. That's an insult.
Are there any bipartisan discussions being had on a fix to this issue? Because the premiums are just skyrocketing under Obamacare, and they will continue to do so. Is there an alternative solution being discussed here?
Leader Jeffries and Democratic leaders have indicated consistently that they are amenable to negotiation. They've said it since day one and before, because this could have been negotiated before they brought the stealthy, filthy bill to the floor. And that's what's coming from the Senate. It is stealthy and it is filthy. It is not clean. It is not a clean CR. So they could have negotiated before now, but they choose not to, and the they means the Republicans. If they choose to negotiate, fine, let's do that. But don't choose to have us capitulate and then call that having been a negotiation.
Yeah, so this is why I say that President Trump's proposal to have money not go to insurance companies and instead go to the American people who are on Obamacare to have them purchase their own health insurance or put it in their health savings account or whatever. This is why I think that is probably more politically viable than just flat out getting rid of Obamacare, which I support, right? Again, in my ideal world, Republicans would just get rid of Obamacare altogether, right? But again, Republicans got to win elections. My only thing is that if they do that, right, if they decide that, you know what, we're not going to give the money to the insurance companies, which, by the way, Democrats are defending, right? You just saw Caveman, the missing link, Australopithecus, Democrat, he just basically vouched against sending money directly to the American people to purchase their own health care. But instead, no, we got to keep sending it to the insurance company. This is why I say that that's a good fight to have, because I think that Republicans can win on that, right? If you make Democrats defend subsidizing insurance companies instead of giving the American people a choice, basically school choice for healthcare, right? I mean, that's the way I would frame it. This is school choice for healthcare. Yeah, I think that Republicans can win that battle. I really do. But they have to follow up with supply side reforms as well, too. It's just not enough to stop subsidizing these insurance companies directly. You also need supply side reforms to open up more competition across the country, allow physician-owned hospitals, get rid of the regulations in Obamacare that hinder competition, okay? Republicans need to do something about this healthcare issue, and I think that they can. With the right leadership, I think that President Trump's initial idea is good, but they need to follow up with supply-side reform. And if they follow up with supply-side reform, make it an issue and campaign on it, right? Use it against Democrats. I think they can win. I really do. Because for far too long, Democrats have had a monopoly on this healthcare conversation, and it's time to change that, right? We have solutions to the healthcare issue. We just need to do it in a way that doesn't hurt so bad that we end up losing the midterms because of it, right? That is the key for Republicans. So again, I wouldn't be surprised to see a 2-year extension. I don't think you're going to get a 1-year extension. I don't think Republicans are going to ever agree to that. They should not agree with that. 2 years, and then in the meantime, work on your own healthcare plan to push that, slowly get rid of Obamacare, dismantle Obamacare, and I think that's the way to go. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.